Hello everyone, I'm Yelena. So this is our session on building chatbots, all right? So we're gonna I'll give you a little bit an overview of what chatbot is. We're gonna talk about a little bit about the chatbot terminology. Then we're gonna apply the terminology to build and deploy or pretend to deploy the Mr. BMI monitor chatbot, okay? So I'll show you. We're going to talk about general tips and tricks for your assignments and chatbot's best practices. Okay, and of course, as always, your questions and answers. But before we start, I must remind you this. Your chatbot must be 2 to 3 days, must be ready 2 to 3 days before the class ends. It has to do with part of the assignment requires collecting the conversation data. Okay, but in order to collect the conversation data, you're going to involve your friends, perhaps, or your family members who are going to be testing your chatbot. So it takes a little bit of time for back and forth. All right. So please make sure your IBM Cloud account stays active and do not enter the credit card number. All right. Some people did that before, and then what happened? Their account became no longer academic account, and you know there is no way to help because I don't have the paid account, right? Oh, I forgot to tell you, good news. The good news are that you don't need to worry about capacity hours for this assignment, all right? So just enjoy and have fun, okay? But please don't enter your credit card number still. Do not deactivate your account. Please don't submit any tickets with IBM unless I told you to. You need to use Salesforce to submit the tickets, right? So you need to earn 70%, or it's actually 72% based on how the questions are broken down. There is a quiz, chatbot key concept quiz, but the purpose is to help you uh, kind of like to help you learn the terminology. So that way we're not speaking foreign languages to each other, right? When I try to help you, for example, I can tell you, let's create an intent. And if you don't know what intent is, we're going to be speaking foreign language with each other, right? So, and also you get some credit toward the assignment just by passing the quiz, right? And you get multiple attempts. Then what's happening is that you have a walkthrough, step-by-step walkthrough to build a Mr. Call chatbot. That walkthrough is sequential. In other words, I cannot skip page 5 and jump to page 6 because I'm doing something on page 5 that must be done before I can do the work on page 6, right? So that also involves an exercises. For example, an exercise could tell you to create a node. Then in the next page, you're using that node to move on, right? So please do not skip anything. Just start from the beginning and keep going through, all right? But the actual chatbot that you turn in for grade, it must be an application of the area of your interest. In other words, you cannot submit Mr. BMI chatbot. You cannot submit Mr. Call chatbot. Otherwise, your instructor will put the ticket in to add me to the gradebook, right? And I get the credit, okay? So please make your own application. It could be something like pizza order. It could be something like airline reservation, ice cream order, or it could be something like the IT issue troubleshooting, or it could be online advisor, right? I'm just giving you examples. And please pay attention to the deliverables. How many files do you need to submit? 2, right? The paper and also the JSON file for your chatbot, all right? Remember this, some deletions cannot be undone. So if I delete node on my chatbot, the only way to undo it is, well, the only ways to undo it is to redo it, to do the work, or if you extracted a copy of the JSON file before deletion, then you can re-import the JSON file, right? So in other words, here to save the copy of the work, you could upload, you could export the JSON file. I'll show you how to do it as a backup, okay? Now here, the real mistake that you can make in here is not to ask for help. So I'm reusing this quote here, all right? Remember, you have to, if you need help, you need to ask for help, and you need to ask for help on time, all right? Okay, so this is a must know terminologies. What is an intent, right? And what is an intent example? In a chatbot terminologies, intent is like I want to do something, right? An entity qualifies the intent. For example, intent, I want to turn something on, right? Entity would be something that I want to turn on, like light, radio, air conditioning. What else could I turn on? Something like that, right? So this is going to be an entity. It qualifies the event, right? So intent is something that I want to do, like turn on or explain something, right? So an entity is going to be the specific topic that I want to explain. There are different types of entities, as you will see. So there are my entities, so things that I'm qualifying, right? Then make sure that you understand what the synonym is, right? Like, for example, the AC, the air conditioning, some people say AC, some people say air, right? All of those are synonyms. They have the same meaning. They refer to the same entity, to the same thing, right? That you're qualifying. Or another example would be restroom, toilet, washroom, bathroom. Those are referred to the restroom, right? To the same thing, same concept. Uh, you need to know what a dialogue skill is, right? So skill is a workspace, remember? And as you will see, you need to know what a node is and etc. I just went through some of this, right? So make sure that you are familiar with all of these terminologies before you actually start working. So you take a quiz, right? So now, uh, so what is a bot? Bot is just a system that is able to solve the specific problem automatically based on the predefined rules, right? But a chatbot, on the other hand, it understands the human language. You actually interact with a chatbot to solve specific problem. Like for example, you could ask something like, what are the available store locations, and it's going to return, right? Like for instance, if the chatbot was trained to pizza order, right? That's one of the topics that you may want to consider. Then you could ask what are the store locations. It's going to give you the locations. You can ask what toppings do you have, and it's going to give you the toppings that you have. And you're placing an order, and then it's interacting with you. In a pizza case, it could ask you what type of crust do you want, what type of size do you want, what toppings do you want, right? Something like that. And the quantities that you want to order, and you keep on answering questions. So that's something like that, right? It's an interaction with you to solve the specific problem. Or it could be to make a restaurant reservation. It could ask you what time of the day do you want, etc. How many people do you have, right? So now, so what is the high level of this assignment? You're going to define the specific purpose of the application. Then you're going to define the scenario, and I'm going to walk through, in this case, the Bister BMI healthcare. I'll walk through that application, including the scenario, all right? Then you're going to define the scenario, build the conversation flow diagram. You're going to use the Watson, it's called Watson X Assistant, but no, it's the same service. On the IBM Cloud, you're going to implement the chatbot. So the service basically provides the dialogue management capabilities. And we look at it. You're going to train the application through testing the scenarios that you defined on a specific topic. You're going to deploy that application. Then you're going to monitor the conversation log, right? And you're going to train. So that's going to be part of the experiment part, where you're going to have a tester, then you're going to check the conversation logs, and you're going to do some modification. Then the tester will test it again. right? Then you need to suggest what can you do to enhance your chatbot in the next release. Like for example, you can consider integrating with other services. So today, text to speech, speech to text is very popular, something like that, right? That's one example. Or you could try consider using webhooks, right? Like for instance, webhook could be checking if you really have availability for a service at specific time, or it could be checking the location, or it could be checking the weather, something like that, right? So we're not using webhooks, but that's something for you to discuss as part of the paper in the potential improvement section. All right. So, but for today, we're going to use the Mr. BMI chatbot. So this is an application that you could use to estimate the BMI. So if I give you my weight in pounds and my height in inches, it's gonna calculate the BMI. You're not, instead of just sitting and browsing the web, right? Right, and trying to find the formula how to calculate my BMI and using a calculator to do that, you just enter your readings and that's it. So it can interpret your blood pressure readings as well. You have this application, you don't need to schedule doctor appointment. This is 100% free. Your results remain confidential and it's consistent. Like for example, if if I enter that my blood pressure is 120 over 75, I'm gonna get response that it's a normal blood pressure. And if Kelly enters the same blood pressure, and just an example, Kelly don't need to pick on you, but if you enter the same blood pressure, it also gonna tell you that your blood pressure is normal. So the consistency. Maybe you will see the answer worded slightly differently, but it's gonna tell you the pretty much the same answer. All right. Then, but unlike ChatGPT, where you can just type your question and it's gonna search you and return you the text on a specific topic, chatbot is trained only, it's narrow. It's trained in a specific topic. It's not meant to answer any topic. Like for example, in my case, if I'm gonna ask the steps to do CPR, my chatbot is not gonna return anything because my chatbot is not trained on a CPR, right? And my chatbot is not trained on first aid either. So, if you ask what a heart attack is, this chatbot is not gonna have the answer because I only trained it on specific topic, on the BMI, right? And also on on the BMI and on the blood pressure. Okay. So now, bigger picture. I have three doctors. Let's just imagine I have three doctors, and each doctor has a different duty hours. So depending on when I launch my application, different doctor is gonna greet me. I have a Mr. Monitor, Mr. Stethoscope, and Mr. BMI. So the doctor on duty is gonna welcome. Let's see. So here I launch it. First, I'm gonna show you what's happening, and then we're gonna drill into details. So here I'm gonna launch this. I click on this bubble, and this is how I launch. This is my chatbot, right? We can say deploy chatbot within Watson X. So it's a welcome message, and it says I'm Miss Stethoscope. And if I was gonna run this application in different time of the day, I would probably see the different picture, right? So I have three doctors on duty. She's asking how may I help you, and then it gives you the options. Why it gives you the options? Because it helps you, it improves the relevancy of responses. It tells you what this chatbot is trained to handle. So I can just click here and I can select any of these options, right? Uh, I could type the question, my blood pressure, something like that, right? And this is equivalent to selecting one of these options. But if I didn't present this option, There is no way in the world to know what this chatbot is doing without looking at the implementation code. And end user should not be checking the implementation code, right? So, for example, I want to estimate my BMI. Select estimate BMI. Now it's asking me for my height is in inches. So here, if I want to, I can type the number. See this? I can type 60. 60 inches. I can type the number as a word, or I can type the number as a number. It should recognize it. 60. Okay. Now it's asking me how many pounds do you weigh? And I'm going to put my weight. There we go. And I'm going to click here. And now it's going to tell me this is my BMI and that I have a healthy weight. All right. Or then, well, usually after selecting its option, I usually display the menu, but for some reason it chose not to do it this time. But well, now let's see. Let's type exit, right? To end the conversation, let's see what it's gonna do. Okay, so when I typed exit, it just says, thank you for using Mr. BMI. Have a nice Tuesday. Aha. We see it. How does it know that it's Tuesday? Somehow you had to have a way to read the current day of the week, right? So now I'm just going to minimize and I'm going to run another scenario. That was just a scenario. The scenario was where I wanted to find out what my body mass index is, right? That's the first scenario. Next scenario is this. I want to know, oops, this now it's a different doctor. Interesting, isn't it? It depends on when I refresh the page. For the previous doctor, I refreshed the page before I started this session, so it was a methoscope. Right now, the doctor is Mr. BMI, right? Because I refreshed this page after that time. Okay, I specified the time boundaries. All right, so how may I help you? And I can say something like my blood pressure, right? So that's another scenario. Here, it's asking me to enter my systolic blood pressure. Remember, blood pressure has two readings. And just say I'm a dummy. I just put random response, the word table, right? What is this gonna do? It's gonna read, it's gonna look at my input and it does not catch the number. So here, it's an explanation. It tells me that the blood pressure is a strange at which the blood is pushing vessels, right? It's explained me what the blood pressure is, and it's asking me to enter the systolic blood pressure again, right? And I'm just gonna put my systolic blood pressure here. Now it's gonna ask me for the diastolic blood pressure reading, and I can put my reading here, enter, and it's now gonna give me the message that it's elevated, see? Adopt healthy lifestyle. What do you want to do next? All right, next scenario. Next scenario, I want this chatbot to email me the information about my blood pressure. It's not gonna actually email, but it will read the email from the input and it's gonna say a message that this information was emailed and it's gonna give an email address to which it was sent. So basically it's reading the email and it's outputting the email that address that was read, right? But somehow it has to catch if I enter the email address in the correct format, right? And if I did not enter the email address in the correct format, it's gonna ask me to re-enter again. And it's gonna do it up to 3 times. I programmed it to do it up to 3 times. And if then you still did not provide the correct email, it's going to tell you, sorry, the email is invalid. That's it, Can't send you an information because it didn't provide the email in valid format. But let's see, email the information, right? Please enter your email address. Okay. What it's looking for some characters here. Then it has to have an @ right? And what else it has to have? Like something like a domain or maybe like UMGC or something, right? and it has to have the .com or .edu or .gov, right? So it's looking at matching it against certain pattern. So I entered valid email, not quite valid, but in a valid format. Now it says that the information will be emailed to me shortly. All right. And then I can say, oh, what in the world is BMI? All right. Let's see. Let's see what it does. So it does the explanation. Couple years ago, it was possible to integrate Watson Assistant, Watson X with another software where you could analyze the collection of documents. You could prefetch the collection of documents, and then you could connect Watson Assistant. So if I asked about the blood pressure, it would search that collection of articles, and it would give the set of articles. Unfortunately, right now, this is not possible, but I'm just telling you, you can imagine that it is possible, let's say, right? And write it as a potential enhancement. So for this chatbot, if I was going to write a paper, I would say potential enhancement would be to use something like Watson Discovery Service that collects the information from specific web page or set of web pages about the BMI. And then when I type for BMI in here, I want to be able to see the set of articles, not just the hard-coded text, because the guidelines change all the time, right? I want to have latest and greatest. So this is one potential improvement for this chatbot, okay? See, now again, it's asking how may I help you? Uh, so you've got several scenarios. That was another scenario where you're asking what is to explain you something, right? Another scenario was email. And for the exit scenario, this is what it does. It shows you the day of the week. But if you run this chatbot on weekend, it's going to show you have a nice weekend. Another situation is that when you ask to enter the blood pressure, if your blood pressure is dangerously high, or dangerously low, the conversation will go to exit, and you're going to get a message that you need to see the doctor or urgent care immediately. All right. So that's that. But now let's go back to our slides. This is just a screenshot taken from inside the application. Okay. Well, anyway, so you have a doctor on duty. Doctor on duty welcomes you. All right. And this is a conversation scenario. I just put a screenshot here. Here is where it's asking you just for the height and for the weight, right? You enter in the number. It's giving you the calculation. Then what else it does? It just gives you what you can do next. It asks you what you can do next. See, this is one of the scenarios. This is another scenario we talked about, right? So you have one. Oh, yes, so you've got two, you've got three. This is an explanation, but, well, not a fan of hard coding, but unfortunately, it is what it is right now. We cannot connect with another application at the moment. So, and this is email scenario, right? You're gonna have several scenarios for your applications. For example, if you're doing pizza order, your scenarios could be placing an order. You could be doing something like exiting an application, and then suppose that you're in the middle of the current order, sometimes you want to cancel, right? Or you could ask questions for the details, right? So you have several scenarios. Just think about it. Think out of the box, okay? And this is just the exit. So see this, I have different messages depending on the situation. So here, first situation, if you need to see the doctor immediately, right? It does that, and then it follows by the message depending on what day of the week it is now. I took the screenshots on Monday, so that's why I chose Monday. And this is for the weekend. All right, you exit and it's gonna show you have a nice weekend. How does it know it? Somehow it has to pull the date or day of the week from the date, right? somewhere in the implementation. This is just the flow diagram. So you start, right? Then you pick the menu. You pick the option, right? And based on the options that you pick, you take a path from here, see? This is a little bit, it might look a little bit complex, but you'll be working toward it slowly. Trust me, this specific application in the beginning, the goal was to show the student how to read the number from the keyboard and how to multiply or maybe add couple numbers read from the keyboard and output the result. That's how it started. So it's slowly. You're not expected to do anything as complex as this, but you need to do something that reads the data and something that outputs the data being read. It has to store and do something with the input, right? So this is just what we talked about. You have Visio, because as a student, when you go to your email, there is a set of applications that comes with a student email, and Visio is one of those applications that you have access to, okay? And you can also save the work on what's called OneDrive, right? You're saving it online. You do have some storage where you can save some of your work, and sometimes even as a backup, all right? So what you're doing is you're creating a new skill. In some readings, the skill is also called a workspace. So if I go to, ooh, I don't like when it does it. So now I need to sign back in and I need to, sorry guys about that, it signed me out. I have to go to my cheat sheet and look up my passwords. I know it's annoying, but okay. It signed me out for Watson Assistant. Your session has expired. Ooh, okay. Well, it signed me out. I was signed into the IBM cloud. It signed me out. So I'm gonna go back, okay? IBM cloud login. Hopefully it's gonna take me back. Hmm, it's not. So it's asking me again. Okay, I'm gonna log in again. And I want to launch the Watson Assistant where I have this application, right? So you only add the application once, and on the next time, you need to go to the resources, right? And you find the application. I have a bunch of stuff because I have been testing things for my session over and over, but I know, so see, I have to go to the resources part, resources list, and in the resources list, there is a section called AI. And under that section, you're gonna see the service that you added. And I remember that I added, oh, come on, scroll. That thing sometimes it gets a little bit, okay, I have multiple stuff here. I know I added it to this instance. But for you, please guys, please do yourself a favor. Do not add multiple copies of the application. I'm sure that it's not gonna let you do that as a student. Student account is different. Okay, so I'm gonna launch the application right now, and I have one skill in there. Skill was also known as a workspace. This is the area where you put all your, you you put in the skills, right? This is the area where you're gonna put all your dialogues. You create all your dialogues in a skill. So, and when you submit your work, remember this. You click here, and you're gonna do this download, and this is how you extract the JSON file that you're going to submit when you're done, right? I'm gonna give you this file for the Mr. Bear My chatbot. What you're gonna do when I give you this file, you're gonna click on create skill, you're gonna go dialog skill, you're gonna click on next. Here, you're gonna do upload skill because I'm gonna give you this JSON file. Then you're gonna go to location where you save the files that I gave you, right? And you're gonna select that file. This is what you're gonna do. I'm not gonna do it again because I already have this skill. So just remember that I'll give you this file. You will have to upload it if you want to play around with this, okay? So I'm gonna close out of this. this is my skill. Now what? I'm going to get into this skill, right? And you'll see what's happening in here. I have my intent, right? So what's an intent? It's something that I want to do. So for example, I want to explain the readings of my blood pressure, right? Just look at the readings. I want to estimate my BMI. I want to send an email, and I want to provide the information about something, right? Then what do I want to provide the information about? We have to qualify it with an entity. We look at the entities. And this is what else do I want to do? I want to exit conversation, right? So intent tells me what I want to do, but entities, as I'm going to qualify something that I want to do. You have my entities. In this case, you have an entity topic. So you want an explanation on specific topic. But then if you look here, the topic has multiple values, right? There are multiple topics. Which topics can we consider? The blood pressure and BMI, right? Then here I'm looking at the synonym. Synonym is an alternative way to call the same concept, right? Like for example, BMI is also known as body fat measure, body fat percentage, body mass index, see? Blood pressure. Well, sometimes if I type something like hypertension, diastolic, systolic, right, I might be referring to the blood pressure, something like that, see? This is a topic. Then we have another entity type, valid email, and here I define the pattern. So if my email that was entered matches this specific pattern, right, then it's a valid email. It's not going to actually attempt to send an email and check if the email exists and then do bounce. If it does not, it's not going to do that. But at least it's going to check for the specific format. See, it has to have an at and it has to have a dot somewhere, right? So this one is just the pattern. You might be wondering if it's possible to have more than one pattern. Yes. If I had something like a phone number, I would have to have two patterns. Valid phone number, I could have international number and a local number. They have slightly different formats, right? So it's possible to have more than one pattern. Okay. So there are also something called system entities that come in with the application. And as you saw, somehow I had to pull the date of the week. How do I know today's day of the week? I had to do what? I have to use the system date, right? Then how do I know which doctor is on duty? Somehow I have to check the time. So I have to use the system time. How do I know that I entered the valid number? For the blood pressure readings, I'm entering the number, I'm reading the number from the keyboard. How do I know that it's a number? Somehow in the conversation, I have to use this system number, right? And I turn it on and then I use it in a conversation, all right? So it's extracting numbers. So let's go back here. That was the scale, right? I'm explaining the intents. I'm explaining the entities for you. Okay. So system entities, they have a prefix SYS. So when you create your own entities, do not use SYS prefix because that prefix is reserved for the system entities, all right? So that's that. And you cannot add them manually, okay? You cannot export them. You cannot import and export them, right? For my entities, you can add them manually, and you can also import them from CSV files. The reason you asked to import the CSV file in a walkthrough, because otherwise your walkthrough would have been more than 100 pages long, all right? So that's one reason you asked to do this, okay? And your entities, the name cannot start with SYS because it's a reserved prefix. So it just shows you how to add an entity. You already have done it, hopefully. Then you're building the dialog. By default, the dialog has only two nodes, right? When you start, it's gonna be just the welcome node and anything else node. Welcome node, welcome intent is triggered automatically when you launch the chatbot, right? This is what happens. Then you select the option, something you specify, something that you want to do, and it's gonna go through each node and check it against the node entry condition. Like, for example, if I want to estimate the BMI, it's going to traverse through this hierarchy and it's going to say, okay, did I just launch the conversation? No. I ask, I want to estimate BMI, but it's going to check, okay, here is the next node. Did she ask for to email? No. Then it's going to check against next one. Did she ask to estimate the BMI? Yes. And it's going to go through here to this section and do whatever it says here, right? Suppose that I go through all of these nodes and I cannot match what asked, right? So the chatbot does not support something that was asked on my question not recognized. It's gonna go to anything else node. So anything else node, it get triggered, it must be lost. And it's triggered when no other requests, the chatbot doesn't recognize what I want to do. Like for instance, I want to ask how to do CPR and my chatbot is not trained on CPR. So the flow is gonna go to this node. And in this node, I'm gonna be asked to paraphrase what I'm trying to say, right? See, anything else is a node entry condition. And this is just multiple ways to say, what do you mean? I didn't get your meaning. Can you reword your statement? I don't understand. Can you try rephrasing, right? So those are the variations because the same sentence can be said differently. You don't want your chatbot to be like a parrot, right? It did not recognize the response, then it gives, I don't understand. Then it types something else, it gives, I don't understand. You don't want to get the same response. You want to get a response with the same meaning but different wording, right? So that's what it does here. But for the welcome note, a lot of stuff is going on here, a lot of interesting stuff. So what does it do? It displays the welcome message. Well, this is a conditional response. So first you have to click on the customize and you have to enable the conditional responses. What does it do here? It's checking the time, today's time. If it's now before 10 a.m. and after midnight, see, it goes from the midnight. So if it's now between midnight and 10 a.m., I want to show this text and this picture right here. If now is after 5 p.m., I want to do this picture. But in here, anything else refers to not before 10 a.m. and not after 5 p.m. So pretty much it's between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. here. Then this is the image that I want to show, and this is the text that I want to show. But like as an example, let's click here. This is what it was showing now. So here, it shows you the text message, right? The response type text. Then the response type is image. I don't copy and paste the picture. You need to put the image source online. See, it has to be JPG or PNG. When you search for image in a Google search, you can get the image URL. See, right click usually, copy image location, something like that. See, so this is the image URL, right? That's what you do to display the image. Then a couple more things are happening in here is that it's trying, see here, this is just, here it just showing you, see, it recognizes welcome and this is what it does, but there is more. Note that this node has a child node and it shows the main menu. Here, be a little bit careful. If node entry condition is true, that node will be firing all the time when the control gets to it. But in this case, this is a child node. Parent node cannot have the true entry condition. In this case, I want to straight after showing a welcome message. I want to show this menu. I want to show this piece here. I want to take here. This is a menu. Okay. Now, what is this doing? Context, those are variables, right? Are you in your example, in your walkthrough, you are reading the name from the textbook, from the not from the textbook, sorry. What am I talking about? From the user. You're asking user for a name, all right? And you're storing that name. There are multiple ways to do it. You in your walkthrough, you are using the JSON editor, right? You're using this guy here to define, to store the name, right? But here, instead of using the JSON editor, I just decided to choose the context editor. So let's close the JSON editor, and this is the context editor. So in the context editor, I just specify here, I want to create the variable called day, and this is how you extract the day of the week from current date. You go here now, and this is just the reformat date time. When you put these 5 letters E, you're getting the date of the week, the full spelling of the day of the week. If you put only 3 letters E, it's just going to be the day of the week abbreviation, like Monday, MON, Tuesday, TUE, right? So there is a way to extract the full day, full spelling, or there is a way to extract just the first 3 letters. So this is how you do it. It's stored, and this is just for the email, because I mentioned before that for the email, in this case, it's giving you 3 attempts to give the correct email. So after each attempt, right? When you get to it, after each attempt, it's gonna add. If the attempt is invalid, you have to increment by 1, right? And once it reaches to 3, that's it. You don't ask anymore, right? So that's the menu. Now, there are different response types. We looked at the text, we looked at the video. What is this? This is a called option response type, right? So basically, you saw it, right? You saw when I ran an example, you saw options. An option has a label. This is a label. This is what I see, the text that I see as a user. Value is an intent that gets triggered when that menu option is selected. All right. So this is a text, for example, right? Email me the information. And if I select that option, it's equivalent to typing email me in the keyword. And this is the intent that gets kicked on. Okay. Or I select exit. This is a goodbye. See, each node has an entry condition. Just to send an email, I can type in email me, or if I selected the email me option, right, it's going to trigger this guy here. This is the intent, right? And so I hope it makes sense, right? See this? This one is going to trigger the BMI intent, and this node here, estimate BMI, is triggered by BMI, right? So know this piece here. Go to the slides. Okay, so you have welcome node, anything else node. Each node has a condition that tells when a node is triggered. It has a response, different response types. A pause, it's basically sometimes you display something you want to hold for few minutes, maybe for a few seconds, and then show something else. And you've got also the video. It does not say video, but it has video also. Then assistant should. It says what to do next. So what happens? Do I wait for the user's input, or do I jump to another dialog node, or do I just skip the input and go to the, okay, I'm jumping to another node, right? Maybe another node is asking for additional input. Or should I get that additional input, or should I just skip to response in another node? That's what it's doing. So like in here, see that email me, right? What happens here? Is checking for the email, right? this is a little bit tricky because here you're using a pattern entity. So what it's doing is it's checking for the email in your user's input, and it's asking you to enter the email. This is called the slot where you're checking for the information. And if the valid email entered, right, then it's going to output that email. But what is this junk? Well, I just set it to dummy value. I set email to dummy value if you enter the incorrect email. See this? If you enter, so here if not equal else, if not equal x, it means that the email that was entered, it's not a dummy value x, then it shows that the information was email. See, this is how you do it. You want to actually echo the email in the chatbot output, right? Because basically, this is what it's done here. See, I click on customize the slot, and what does it do? Here, if assistant recognizes that this is a valid email, do one thing. And if this is not a valid email, so here, not found means that if the email I entered is incorrect, right? Then I'm gonna check how many attempts I have already used. In the beginning, the number of attempts was 0, right? If then, after I made one incorrect entry, it's gonna go to number of attempts equal 1, and etc., right? Right, see, so then it's gonna go to 2. So if I already exhausted my invalid attempt, it's just gonna say the message, sorry, your valid email is required, and it's gonna go to, where is it gonna go? See, you have to skip. It's gonna skip, and it's just gonna show the response. And the response would be that you didn't provide a valid email, okay? So see, anything else? Oh, anything else is when the email is not valid. See here, so here what you're checking for. You're checking if you exhausted the number of attempts, do this. Otherwise, if you have not exhausted the number of attempts, it's just gonna show you that email that you entered is invalid, see? So this is the logic for when the valid email is not recognized. So email not recognized, it's going to do few things. Check if you exhausted the number of attempts. If you did, then it's going to show you, it's going to quit, it's going to break that flow, and it's going to show you that an email is not valid. I mean, that you exhausted the number of attempts to enter valid email. If you have not exhausted the number of attempts, it gives you another attempt, okay? I want to discard the changes. Okay. Now just know this one, what it's doing, right? I'm just giving you examples of things. So I showed you how it's reading, it's checking the time, and based on the time, it shows you a different person, right? All right. So what else did I do in here? Folder is just a way to group several nodes. For example, here, an explanation. I have a different node to explain each topic. Is it explain BMI? It's just different ways to say the same text. And explain blood pressure. And I have different response types. I have an image and I have the text in this case. All right. So that's what the folder is. And I put it in a folder, the explanation, right? Then here I show what to do. After this is displayed, I want to jump to the main menu, and see this? I want to go after this, I want to go to the main menu. I want to show it. So what's the main menu? It's this node right here, see? I'm returning to this node right here. And in here, it just displays the menu and I can select what I want to do next, okay? Well, your example should not be as complicated. This was done over time, all right? So, and this is just the different response types, all right? We look at the option. Remember, this is something similar. If you know HTML, it's something similar where each option has a label and a value. It's in this case, value is actually which intent being called. when you select the text option, okay? So here, for the blood pressure, it's reading the number. See, like I look at the blood pressure, what is it doing? See this? You have a first slot, it's checking for a number. Check for a number. And if it's a number, it's going to read into variable called systolic. And if not, it's going to ask you again to enter the systolic blood pressure. See, and diastolic. Here I added something called handler. Maybe I'm uncomfortable entering blood pressure. Maybe I want to quit. I should be able to quit, right? For some unknown reason, suppose that this is not doing what you're expected to do. This is what you're gonna do. Look, I go to try it, right? So try it. Let's go to manage context. Let's see what happens. Those are the variables that I have. Remember, I set number of attempts to 0. Remember, I saved what today's date is, right? That's it. That's what I have for right now. Now let's test. Let's test here. I select an option and I want to know, what should I do? Maybe let's say estimate the BMI, right? I want estimate the BMI. See here, it tells me which intent is being read. In this case, it recognizes the intent called BMI, right? And Jesus, now it's asking me, what is your height in inches? Okay, note, look here, no height in here, right? This is what it has right now. So now, look, I'm gonna enter the height in inches. It's gonna be 60, just an example. I entered 60. Now let's go here, manage context. Do you see what happens? It added the new variable here and it set the value to 60. This is how you're gonna troubleshoot. You're gonna check. Okay, this is what's actually happening. I'm trying to set this to the number. Did it read the number? Something like that. Now it's asking for another for the weight. And suppose that I enter something like dummy car. It's gonna ask me for the weight again, right? I go here, I did not save anything because I did not enter what's expected. So I go to weight here, and this time I'm gonna put something like 130 pounds, and I'm gonna hit enter. Now what? It read something called weight, right? If I scroll down, I expect to see weight that was stored, see? That's what it's doing here. It's storing weight, right? So let's clear this. So another thing is it's supposed to, I want to estimate my BMI. I'm uncomfortable to talk about my height. So I can do exit, and this is a handler, okay? It exited this part of conversation. Sounds like you want to quit, sorry. I did not receive sufficient information to estimate the BMI. And then it's asking how may I help you again, okay? Just an example. So you have to have handlers because I should be able to exit my conversation at any time. All right. I shouldn't be saying, hey, I don't want to talk about it, right? Repeatedly. No. You see here, reading the number. This one is just calculating, it's checking. If she is just checking. Sometimes maybe I enter the number, but the number is invalid. Because you have to catch for that too, right? She's checking if the systolic is under 65 and diastolic under the 45, then you're in danger too. The blood pressure is too low. So depending on what the calculation result is, it's going to show you different message and a different actions where to go next. It depends on the outcome of the calculation. If you're really under in a crisis, see here, it's gonna ask you to quit, right? It's gonna show where to jump, right? All right, so see here, it's just evaluating, right? Okay, so we got this piece here covered. I know this is complex. You will have to watch this recording more than once. So here, this is how you extract the email. I showed you, and this is just the syntax. You can use the JSON editor, or you can use this, or you can use the context editor. So please save yourself a little bit of time. If you want to do email, just take what I did in my example and clone it, okay? Just clone my example with the email. This is called code reuse. This is not necessarily submitting another work. You're just reusing the expression for email, all right? So feel free to reuse my logic for email, but the application is still gonna be your application, all right? This is just how to use the system entity. I showed you how we extract the date, right? Or you can extract the three-letter date. Feel free to reuse my expressions, but it's gonna be in the context of your application, see? This is just the goodbye note. The response, you're looking at you're reading the date of the week, right? You extracted the date of the week earlier, and you are displaying the message depending on what day of the week it is. See, if this is a Saturday or Sunday, then it's just going to say the message will include something like have a nice weekend, right? But if it's anything else, if it's other than Saturday and Sunday, what does it do? It's just going to display what the day is. Have a nice, right? And this is just reading what you stored in the date, in a day, right? You're reading the day from the system entity, okay? So I know it's a little bit, yes, I showed you the folders. So this is just how to test, and I just showed you. You want to look at what's actually being stored if you're not getting the correct results. See, this is a test. And in your paper, you want to specify that you did this to test. Right? You ask how you tested the chatbot. You may want to provide an example like I'm doing here. You're going to have the slides. See? I'll give you the copy of the slides, and I'm going to give you the Mr. BMI. All right? So next topic is you have to build the virtual assistant. What is this? So I'm going to go here to assistants. And I already have an assistant, but let me show you how to build one from scratch. You're gonna click here, create an assistant, and let's say I'm gonna type something like Yelena healthcare, right? I'm gonna type this. Now I'm gonna say create an assistant. Here you want to add the dialog skill. This is a dialog skill that I just created. You add that, that's it. That's pretty much it. Then what? Well, I'm gonna click on the preview. Click on the preview. Okay, please make a note here. This is a preview link that you're going to share with your testers. You're gonna create this assistant, and this is a link that you will share with your testers, okay? Because what's gonna happen is that you're gonna create this, assistant, then you're gonna share this link. And the link, in this case, it's going to be a page like this. So your tester will have to click on this bubble and run the chatbot. All right. So I created the assistant. Okay, let's close out. That's not what I actually wanted to do. I did not want to have two assistants, but it's okay. Now what? Well, you're going to be running the conversations. Then you're going to go here. And in here, there is something called analytics. And you're going to look at the conversation details, right? So this is an overview. It shows me that I had a total of 5 conversations with my chatbot. In your case, you're gonna have 2 days, okay? I just have 1 day for right now. I have 5 conversations. This is the average number of messages per conversation, right? Maximum number of conversations per day. And also there is something called a weak understanding, and I'll show you what that is. But first here, those are just overall statistics of the conversation. And you're getting here which entities, which intents are you hitting in the conversation. and which entities I'm hitting, because that information is important. It tells you how your chatbot is used, which portions of the chatbot are used the most. Like, for example, see this, I can see that my blood pressure piece was used more than my Mr. BMI piece, right? Based on that, I can further develop the chatbot. I know what exactly my customer is using, right? Based on this information. And if I click on this link, it's going to give me all conversations where I hit this intent. See, this gives me all the conversation where that intent was hit. Those details use the conversation. Let's go back to overview. This is what you're going to do. You're going to check if there are any weak understandings after the first day. So you're going to have several users. You're going to have some tests, and you're going to see the logs. If there are any weak understandings, if not, then not. But if yes, then yes, right? So here I entered something as my reading, and the chatbot did not recognize it. So what could I do? I can click here, open conversation, right? And I can fix it. So see, this is just the conversation that was here. And see this, I can change the classification. See, my reading, it did not recognize what I was trying to do. So I can change that intent. See, I can click on it, and I want to say every time when I say the blood pressure, when a user types my reading, I want to actually do the blood pressure. I want to look at the blood pressure. Okay, each time when somebody says my readings, so I do this, and I save it, right? It saves it for you. See, I fix it. I fix the bad understanding. See? Now I reopen, I go back to the conversation. And next time, next time when I enter the word my readings, on the next day when test runs it again, it should understand that I was actually asking about about my blood pressure, reading interpretation, right? So you fix it, you change the classification. Or for example, if I'm testing your chatbot and you're asking for what language do you speak, just an example, I'm gonna try to break it. I'm gonna try to enter the language that you don't have in your implementation. Like for example, I'm gonna enter Russian. And if Russian is not one of the languages, you're gonna go to the conversation, right? And you're gonna see that I entered Russian and it was not recognized. So you're gonna fix it. You're gonna add it to the languages, right? You're gonna click on it and you're gonna select the correct entity or correct, it's gonna add the example for you. It adjusts the chatbot implementation, right? So this is ongoing testing. You're gonna check the relevancy of the responses and when the user responses were not recognized. This is what you're doing here. So you create an assistant, sending the link to several people, right? So you adding the dialogue skill to assistant, then you're gonna get the link and you're gonna send that link to your testers. That's a preview link that you're gonna copy. Please make a note of this, right? When you click on the preview, it's gonna give you the link that you will need to copy, and you need to send that link to your testers. The more testers, the better, okay? I can be your tester too, keep in mind. Then you're gonna run here, it just tells you more details. Say run several conversations, you're gonna look at the logs. If everything is fine, it's fine, but still try to catch something that you would have changed. You run it the second day, and then you're gonna say, okay, well, if I was gonna run it again, this is what I would have changed, all right? And discuss new findings in the paper. So your findings could be different from my findings, right? You know what I'm saying. All right, this is just a log overview. It tells you how your conversation was used, and you can click to see the details in the conversations. Or like another example was, no, this is a true story. I said the word restroom. When I was on a flight, I said, "Where is a restroom?" And the guy did not know what I'm talking about. They don't know the word restroom. In Europe, they don't know the word restroom. They know some countries, well, they know toilet, they know bathroom, and they know washroom. Okay? But they don't know the restroom. So if I'm one of the testers and if I use this word, right, it's not going to recognize, then you go, you see it, you pick it up, and you're going to add it to the synonym. You're going to physically say, hey, this is the same as a bathroom, right? Something like that. So people can say the same term, you can refer to the same thing differently, okay? And this is just a conversation log. I just put some images here to show you. Those are some useful sites, just how to use slots, some expressions that you can reuse, some dates and times. Well, this is just reuse, right? This is not copying. So again, what you're gonna do? Some examples of what the student did. Another example was the car service. You could ask, okay, my car does not start. What can you do? And it's gonna give you the troubleshooting tips, something like that, right? Another example was the ice cream order. It's going to ask you if you want a cup or a cone. It can ask you how many scoops do you want. It could ask you what flavor you want. It could ask you what toppings you want. And you place an order. Huh? Simple? Well, relatively simple. You can schedule a doctor appointment. That's another one. Another example is a student advising. The chatbot could ask if you want graduate or undergraduate. Then it could list you the available programs, which programs you want to choose, right? Right, and based on that, it can show you how many credit you need. And just an example, right? Or maybe the tech support, you specify what the problem is, and it gives you the answer based on the problem. Or airline reservation, or, well, it could be anything you can think of. Try to do something that you're familiar with. It doesn't have to be the medical topic. It could be anything. I hope it makes sense. But please, please, please remember, if you submit Mr. Cold or Mr. BMI, what's going to happen? You're in trouble because I get the points for that part of the assignment, not you. Okay? Then it's a problem. But I already have masters. I don't need my another masters. So please, 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 please make sure that you earn the grade for this assignment, not me. Okay? Now, questions, guys. Questions. Anything you want to ask me? No questions? So remember, you do the quiz first, right? You remember how to put the ticket in if you need help, right? Remember that I can be one of your chatbot testers, okay? Well, we'll get through it. This is the last assignment, and this is the most fun assignment. And remember, good news, no capacity hours. So yes, isn't it good? Well, so just enjoy. This is a fun assignment. Okay, fun, but not at the expense of doing the work. So I hope you enjoy this one. Okay, don't wait until the last minute because you have to do the testing. And all of us know that applications can go down on the last minute. That's how it is. Okay, sometimes on a day when it's due, it can go down. So just remember that. Please, please, please do yourself a favor, do early. The early, the better. First read, and look at the examples and then, go from there. Questions, friends? No? Check in the chat. No questions in the chat, right? So I guess if there are no questions, we're going to call it a night. And I'm going to wish you good luck and have fun in your remaining few weeks of the course, right? Almost done. Yes.
Thank you so much, Professor.
All right. So,
Thank you.
thank you. And I'm going to
Have
end
a
it.
nice evening.
Yeah, you too. Okay, so I'm gonna stop recording.